All right, picture this, hitting a home run on your last swing, like the very last one. Talk about ending your career on a high note, right? And that's exactly how Ted Williams, one of baseball's, the greatest hitters, walked off the field. But, there's so much more to his story than just that last game.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, just look at his batting average, right? .406 in 1941. It's crazy. Nobody has hit that high in over 80 years.
Yeah, that's wild. Okay, so we know, everyone knows he was a phenomenal player. But in this deep dive, what I really want to understand is, well, what made him tick, what was he all about? So we'll explore everything. His journey, starting from his childhood in San Diego, becoming this, legend, his time in the military, and even what he did after baseball.
And what's really fascinating is how his life kind of overlaps with some pretty big moments in American history. Like he lived through the Great Depression, served in World War II, even Korea, and then, there's the whole post-war boom. So it's way more than just a sports story, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's history. Okay, so take us back. San Diego during the Depression, that doesn't exactly sound like the easiest place for a kid with big dreams.
No, definitely tough times. But, they say pressure makes diamonds,
yeah.
right? And it was on those sandlots in San Diego where young Ted, where his love for baseball really took off. Like he lived and breathed the sport, you know what I mean?
So it was more than just raw talent then. He was driven even way back then.
Oh, absolutely. It was this incredible natural ability, but also this relentless work ethic. I mean, he went from those sandlots to just dominating in high school baseball, and then boom, he's making a name for himself in the minor leagues.
But the minor leagues were just a pit stop, right? For someone like him,
Oh, yeah, definitely. For someone with his talent, come on. And the Boston Red Sox, they saw it. They saw his potential, and, they snatched him up pretty quick. And that's where his major league journey really begins,
And then, bam, that incredible .406 season in 41. That wasn't just luck, was it? What made that season so amazing?
Oh, it's way more than consistency, right? I mean, try and wrap your head around this. Getting a hit in over 40% of your at-bats for a whole season, it's almost like a superhuman. But Williams, he was meticulous. Like he studied pitchers, every move they made. He basically revolutionized the way people thought about hitting.
Hold on, revolutionized hitting. Okay, now I got to hear more about this. How did he do that?
Well, you got to remember, back then, hitting was, it was mostly seen as just an instinct, right? You see the ball, you swing. But Williams, he approached it like a scientist almost. Like he understood the physics of a swing, the timing, the strike zone. He was one of the first to really, breaks down like that.
So he was like a baseball nerd before being a baseball nerd was cool.
Exactly. And his dedication, it paid off big time. Remember that story about him almost sitting out the last 2 games of the season just to protect his .400 average?
Yeah. What a gamble. Right. But it seems like that kind of pressure, he thrived on it.
He did. He chose to play, risked his average for a chance to, really earn it. That says a lot about him, don't you think?
Yeah, it really does. Now, we know he served in the military, and that had to be a huge sacrifice. It's not like taking a couple weeks off, right?
No, not at all. It wasn't just a break. Imagine you're at the top of your game, and bam, World War II hits. And he puts his baseball career on hold to become a Navy flight instructor.
Wow. So he's a gifted athlete and a skilled pilot. Did he ever talk about how, that wartime experience, how it affected him?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He actually compared the discipline and focus you need in baseball to the military. He actually said that being in the service made him a better player.
That's incredible. But wait, didn't he serve again? During Korea?
You got it.
I did.
As a Marine combat aviator this time. I mean, can you believe that? The guy missed, get this, 3 prime seasons of his career to serve his country.
3. And then he comes back and he still dominates.
It's mind-blowing, right? Okay. He came back and get this. He won 2 MVP awards and 2 Triple Crowns.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. I've heard that term Triple Crown, but I'm not sure what it actually means. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. So in baseball, a Triple Crown means you lead your league in batting average, home runs, and runs batted in. All in the same season. It's pretty rare, It's a big deal.
Yeah, wow. That really puts it all in perspective.
Yeah.
So he's a war hero, a baseball superstar, and on top of all that, wasn't he a dedicated family man too?
Absolutely. Totally devoted to his family. And what's interesting? Even with all the fame and success, he never forgot where he came from. He was still that kid from San Diego, always.
I'm curious, with everything going on, baseball, military, family, did he have any other, like, passions, anything else he was into?
He did, and this is where things get really interesting.
Yeah.
He was an avid, and I mean avid fisherman, like obsessed.
Fishing. That seems so different from, the whole intensity of baseball.
It was his escape.
Yeah.
He said it helped him clear his head, stay grounded. And his passion for fishing, it led to a whole second career, actually.
Wait, what? A second career? Okay, now I definitely need to hear more about this.
We will. But first, let's get back to his peak years in baseball. Remember those Triple Crowns we talked about? Let's dive into what made him such a force on the field.
All right, so we were talking about those incredible Triple Crowns that Ted Williams won, but it wasn't just like racking up numbers, right? His impact on the game, it went way deeper than that, didn't it?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We talked a little bit about how he approached hitting, like a science, but he really influenced, generations of hitters after him.
Okay, so paint a picture for me. What was baseball like before Ted Williams? Like, how did he actually change things?
Back then, hitting was, well, a lot of it was just guesswork, really. You try to figure out what the pitcher was going to throw and then just react as fast as you could. But Williams, he had a different approach.
I'm guessing this is where all that studying of pitchers comes in, right?
Exactly. He'd spend hours, hours, looking over scouting reports, analyzing every little thing, their tendencies, arm angles, even how they grip the ball. He wanted to know everything before he even stepped into the batter's box.
So it was like he was playing chess, not just baseball.
That's a great way to put it. He wasn't just reacting. He was thinking, steps ahead.
Yeah.
And then there was his batting stance. Legendary.
Yeah, that iconic stance. I've seen pictures. It's what was so special about it?
Well, it was pretty unconventional back then. He stood with his feet really wide apart, his weight back, and the bat, held up high. It almost looked, awkward.
But I'm guessing it worked, right?
Oh, it worked. It gave him incredible power and control. And he was also, one of the first hitters to really focus on waiting for the perfect pitch.
So he had patience. He wasn't just, swinging her for the fences every time.
Exactly. He knew that walks were just as valuable as hits. It was about getting on base, helping the team win, not just, personal glory.
That's pretty insightful, especially for a guy who is known for, having a bit of a fiery personality. Speaking of which, let's talk about that side of him. He wasn't exactly shy and retiring, was he?
He definitely had a reputation, outspoken, sometimes combative even, especially with the media. He didn't back down from a confrontation. He spoke his mind, even if it rubbed people the wrong way.
Yeah, I can see how that might not have made him the most popular guy, in the locker room. But I also read that he was, fiercely loyal to his teammates.
Oh, absolutely. He demanded excellence from himself and everyone around him. But he was also a protector, You'd have your back in a fight, that's for sure.
So, a complex guy, to say the least. But all that intensity, it must have led to some pretty epic rivalries, right?
Oh, definitely. And none bigger than, him and Joe DiMaggio, a clash of the Titans.
DiMaggio, the Yankee Clipper. Now, that's baseball royalty right there. What was it about their rivalry that really caught the public's attention?
It was more than just, two great players going head-to-head. It was a contrast in styles and personalities. DiMaggio, he was smooth, graceful, the epitome of cool, that Yankee cool. Williams, on the other hand, he was fiery, intense, that Boston spirit.
Sounds like the classic, good guy versus bad guy thing.
Maybe a little bit of that, yeah. But there was also mutual respect. They pushed each other to be better, and they both, I think, they recognized the greatness in each other.
But there could only be one winner in the end, right? And when it comes to numbers, Williams, he seems to come out on top.
True. His stats are, they're impressive, no doubt. But remember, DiMaggio has 9 World Series rings. That's pretty hard to beat.
Ah, the World Series. The one thing that, that eluded Williams, didn't it? It makes you wonder how people would remember him, if he had a championship ring.
It's one of those what ifs, But even without a World Series title, his impact, come on, it's undeniable. We talked about his hitting, but let's dive into some of the other ways he left his mark.
Okay, so beyond the stats, how else did he, shape the world of baseball?
Well, he was a huge advocate for players' rights.
Yeah.
Back then, players didn't have the leverage they do now.
What do you mean?
They were at the mercy of the owners a lot of the time. No free agency, and they weren't always treated fairly. Williams was one of the first to really speak out about it. to demand better treatment, fairer pay for the players.
So he was a trailblazer, not just in his hitting, but in his willingness to stand up for what he believed in.
Absolutely. He wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo on and off the field. And that resonated with a lot of people, especially younger players coming up.
So he was a mentor, too.
Yep.
That's not something I'd expect from, someone with his reputation for being tough, demanding.
It could be tough, yeah. But he was fair, and he had this deep respect for the game and anyone who was willing to put in the work. He was known for, sharing his knowledge, helping younger players get better.
That's pretty amazing. So he was a revolutionary hitter, an advocate for players, a mentor. Is there anything this guy didn't do?
Well, there was one area where he didn't have the same level of success, managing.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about his time as a manager. What happened there?
He managed the Washington Senators and later the Texas Rangers, but, well, it just didn't seem to click. That fiery personality, his demanding approach, it didn't translate to managing.
So even the greats can't do it all, huh?
I guess that's a good reminder, right? Being a great player doesn't automatically make you a great manager or coach. Different skills, I guess.
All right, so we've covered a lot: his hitting, his time in the military, the rivalry with DiMaggio, even his less successful time as a manager. But I feel like we've only scratched the surface,
There's so much more. We haven't even talked about his work with the Jimmy Fund, his second career as a fishing expert, and his complicated relationship with the media.
And I'm still curious about, his legacy, how he's remembered today.
Well, stay tuned, because in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to explore all that. We'll uncover even more about this fascinating, complex figure.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into the life and legacy of, well, Ted Williams.
Yeah, we've covered a lot. His hitting, the military, his personality, his impact on players' rights, but there's still more to discover.
You mentioned his work with the Jimmy Fund. It seems like that was really important to him, right?
Oh, absolutely. His dedication to the Jimmy Fund, supporting cancer research, it went way beyond just like lending his name. He was really involved, personally raised millions of dollars.
What do you think drove that kind of commitment?
Well, remember, he lost his mom to cancer when he was like just a teenager. That had to have a huge impact on him.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So he took that pain and turned it into something positive, used his fame to make a difference.
Exactly. He'd visit kids in the hospital, do all these fundraising events, and he was always speaking out, advocating for research. It became a big part of his legacy, almost as much as his baseball achievements.
That's amazing how he used his fame for good. But we also left off talking about his second career, the whole fishing thing.
Yeah.
Did he really become a professional fisherman after baseball?
He did. And not just, messing around. He was inducted into the IGFA Fishing Hall of Fame.
Wait, hold on. The Fishing Hall of Fame. I didn't even know that existed.
He approached fishing with the same intensity he brought to baseball. Studied fish behavior, experimented with different techniques, traveled all over the place looking for the biggest catches.
So that need to excel, that drive, it wasn't just in baseball.
Nope, not at all. He even had a TV show about fishing, sharing his knowledge, his passion.
Sounds like he really embraced life after baseball, found fulfillment in those other passions.
He did. It's interesting. His relationship with the media, which, well, he often struggled with that. It actually played a role in his fishing success.
Wait, really? How he was known for clashing with reporters, right? Didn't that make things harder for him?
Well, in a way, yeah, it did. He could be abrasive, dismissive.
Yeah.
Created a lot of tension. But that same outspokenness, that unwillingness to like sugarcoat things, it also made him, well, pretty compelling on TV.
So his authenticity, even when it was, well, kind of rough, it actually worked for him.
Exactly. People were drawn to that honesty even when they disagreed with him.
Okay, so we've talked about, well, everything. His hitting, his military service, his charity work, fishing, his personality, even his struggles with the media. Feels like we've really come full circle,
We have, but now the big question, what's his legacy? What impact did he have on baseball, on American culture?
That's a tough one. He was a product of a different time, right? The world's changed so much. Do his accomplishments, do they still matter today?
I think so. Maybe even more so now,
Yeah.
in this age of like carefully crafted images, social media, his authenticity, it stands out. He was who he was, flaws and all.
Yeah, that's true. He wasn't afraid to be himself, even when it made him unpopular. But beyond his personality, what about his legacy in baseball itself? How does the sport remember him?
His impact, it's still felt in how players hit the ball,
Mm-hmm.
studying pitchers, the strike zone, waiting for the perfect pitch.
Right.
That's all, that's all fundamental now.
So what was revolutionary back then is like the standard today.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And his, his fight for players' rights, it helped pave the way for the power players have today.
Wow. It's amazing how one person can have such a lasting impact, not just on the sport, but on the whole culture around it.
And it's interesting how his story keeps being told, right?
Yeah.
Books, documentaries, even movies. He still captures people's imaginations.
Why do you think that is? What is it about Ted Williams that keeps people so fascinated after all these years?
I think it's the complexity. He was full of contradictions. Talented but flawed, driven but compassionate, outspoken but vulnerable.
He was a real person, not just a baseball card.
Right. And his story reminds us that greatness isn't just about, winning trophies. It's about pushing yourself, challenging the way things are, and striving for excellence in everything you do.
And maybe it's also about finding some time to go fishing.
That's the perfect takeaway. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the things that you'll remember most about Ted Williams?
For me, it's his work with the Jimmy Fund. It shows that even with fame, with fortune, you can still, use your platform to help others.
That's a great one. For me, it's his commitment to excellence,
Mhm.
whether it was baseball, flying fighter jets, or even fishing.
Yeah, and I think we can all learn something from that. Whether you're a diehard baseball fan or just someone who appreciates a good story, Ted Williams' life, it offers some valuable lessons
Yeah.
about passion, perseverance, and living a life well lived.
And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive. We hope you enjoyed this exploration of Ted Williams' incredible life.
And who knows, maybe it's inspired you to pick up a bat or a fishing rod or even just a book about this fascinating man. Thanks for joining us.